So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and focus on branding. Uh, Knowing a little bit about your businesses already, right, in the polls that you've shared, I think it's really important to consider branding's role and how you structure and strategize moving forward. I also want you to kind of conceptualize a lot of what I'm sharing today, which is this is going to be very evangelistic. I really want to encourage you to invest both in your business from a marketing perspective, but also in how you position your brand. I always think everything is related to how you position just as much as how you execute. So just quickly, my background again has always been in sales and marketing. I've been doing this for I think 18 or 17 years. I love being a mind body consultant. It's the platform that I use the most personally for my businesses as well as with clients. And I'm always available to talk more strategically, whether it's in Mind Body One after this, or if you want to talk one-on-one about your business and get a business analysis, you can reach out to me at kkhart.com, and I'd be more than happy to look at your business from a very personal perspective. So when I think about marketing's role in the wellness industry, I've loved this industry for actually about 20 years and really became passionate about providing marketing services and business coaching to this industry because I really believe in what I'm going to share with you, which is that marketing is not just good for you, the business owner. When we think about what we do and what our businesses do, you have to think about marketing a little bit differently, right? It is good for you because of what you do, and it's good for everyone. We provide services that help people look better, feel better. We're not just selling a random product on eBay or Amazon, which there's nothing wrong with that, even if so, right? We're not just trying to sell some random membership, one of 30 for the day to someone who may never use it, or an appointment that we don't really believe enhances the client's life. We don't just look at revenue as a goal or a KPI because we have shareholders that care about that. We don't just think about making a splash with our business because it's not that important to us how deeply rooted we are in our community. We are really focused on providing powerful experiences, right? Whether you're on the fitness side, maybe you focus more on beauty or wellness services. There's something so amazing about what we care about as a wellness industry. We go beyond one-time clients, right? We believe in this concept of deeply connected, loyal, raving fans like we talked about last time, and customers that don't just return, they become a part of the family. And that family is so connected that is why they come back. That community is so strong that our human nature just leads us to want to go more and more and more. Is this getting you excited? Because it's getting me really excited about helping you to become an irresistible brand. Now, when I break it down in a more simplistic term, right, for those of you who aren't marketers and in love with marketing and sales like I am, what is branding? Well, if you think about it at its most simplistic sense, branding is who you actually are. It's what people tell the world about their experience with you. It's how you position yourself. And so to juxtapose that and also kind of align next to it, marketing is who you say you are. It's what you tell the world. It's what people perceive of you. And when we think about what makes a brand irresistible, I actually would ask you to take a moment, close your eyes, consider a business you actually loved patroning, whether it was a product or a service, maybe a restaurant you recently got to go to, indoor or outdoor. And I think one thing that we all know about irresistible brands is not just that they're exciting, but it's literally so simple to love them. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. You have this experience that just goes above and beyond your expectations, and it convinces you and connects with you in a way that really resonates with maybe an outcome that you desire or a feeling that you get when you interact with that company. I'm thinking of my favorite sushi company right now, and they're just amazing. If you ever come to Las Vegas, send me a message and I will literally point you in the right direction. They do all you can eat sushi in the best possible way, and it's all custom made. So there's that. Irresistible. I get excited thinking about it. But let's think about your business for a second. And here's the thing, your business is here. Your business has been established. Your business has been operating on Mind Body for many of you over a year, many of you, most of you over 3 years, because you've enjoyed levels of success, right? You've seen the fruits of being a more irresistible brand. And so when I think about your brand in particular, right, being a wellness industry, being a business of helping people live healthier, happier lives, here's how we can connect the dots to be, I think, even more resonant now as the world is changing, as your services are changing. And the first is to have this emotional trigger. A lot of times in our industry, we talk about community, right? And so when we think about community, that customer is the most important aspect of our business. They should be the center of our attention. And when that happens, there's something really unique that happens. I believe we connect what we offer and we're able to communicate it in a way that the client can receive it, right? And so that helps us to differentiate. You know, I always say this, we are a business of copycat and hype. There are at least a couple competitors in your local or global market that are similar to you. And so how your brand is positioned in people's minds, it's not just important or relevant, it's essential to how you grow, how you take your business to the next level, especially as you become more tenured. So I want to take you back to 1990 something, when I was a very young girl. And one thing I will always remember is how the Apple Macintosh positioned itself versus the PC. And so for those of you, maybe I'm dating myself, that wasn't aware of this, marketing. Let me give you an idea of how Apple really broke out, because I actually studied them in my master's, because they're masters of brand, right? Those of you who have iPhones, you don't even know why you love it so much. But as soon as that new release happens, you go out, you buy that iPhone, and you take all of your pictures and videos on it, and you are so happy. And I think the big difference here is that Apple literally knew their customers so well, and they created a connection to that customer by personifying who they were. This was an advertisement that actually went so far as to make fun of their competitor and position themselves as a company who takes the important stuff really seriously, but doesn't take the not important stuff very seriously, meaning they care about your experience with their computing and their software, and their devices, but they do so in a way that really felt like they knew what you were experiencing with your existing computer or systems. I really remember that to this day. And what they did is they created a stickiness, right? And this is something I really assert that we all need to do with our clients, especially because we're in the business of helping people to live healthier, happier lives. And that stickiness means that clients have an undoubted connection that goes beyond just the experience, meaning, the clients that are so connected to your business that maybe the day that you had to change everything over in the back end of your software, so things weren't absolutely perfect with your schedule, and maybe the spelling was wrong on the word virtual or something crazy like that, those days in the last year or so that just felt heavy and hard, those clients were resilient. They were giving of grace, and they really believed that something great was coming from you, even though maybe in that moment it didn't feel that way for you. Think about that client, right? That's the client we all desire to have. That's the raving fan, the advocate, the one who refers friends and family, like we talked about in my last session. And when we think about what those clients are saying about you, right, it really tells us your brand personality. When you think of, I'll give just a quick personification of a studio business that I've been lucky enough to work with forever. One of the things their clients are always saying about them, it comes up in every marketing that we do, whether they're commenting on their ads or looking to leave reviews, they're always talking about how there is nothing better than that workout for their results. The results of the workout actually feed their outcomes and their goals. And so that becomes a part of the brand, because we talk specifically about reaching outcomes, about here's the tangible goal that we're going to help you work towards. And that doesn't mean that you're one size fits all, or doesn't mean that you have one brand personality. But I think what it does mean is that you focus on what your clients really desire from you, and it creates that sticky relationship that they can grow alongside you. So I'm actually from Orlando, Florida. They host a little company you may have heard of, known as the happiest place on earth. And Disneyland Brand is another great example of a company that I think we all have some degree of knowledge about that does this well. I actually have had the privilege of going through a lot of their programs in my master's and my bachelor's degrees. And so I was able to see why they cared so much about the outcomes that we see as consumers. And the number one reason is every single thing they do reflects back to their brand. Something as simple as actually something that I implement in my studios, which is a Disney sweep in between each class, right? Making sure that the business looks a certain way, right? The studio has an air of aesthetic to it. Actually came from a principle I learned in Disney training about customer service and about really creating a customer expectation that you can meet and exceed. And I think they do that so well. So that's the algorithm I want to talk to you about for a few moments, right? How can you make your brand more sticky? Well, the first thing I want to kind of break down for you is how great brands are created, right? So we've talked about Apple, we've talked about Disney. We've talked about this amazing all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant I told you about. And I think this is true. These three principles are true for every single one of these. Well, first is to understand that experiences are actually created in the brain. I always say 90% of what we do starts in the mind. And so with that, you have to think how emotive experiences happen is very sensory. Sometimes this feels kind of ethereal, right? It feels like something you can't really accomplish as a small, locally focused business that is in the wellness industry. So it may not be that you need like a fog machine in between every class so that people feel like they're really in the experience of what they've completed, but it does mean that we can evoke imagery. We can evoke, I think, experiences that give people a mindset and a vision that creates a beautiful memory. And actually, memories are interesting things because they're not always what we think. It's an interesting statistic I've learned over the years of social psychology, which is that most people's memories aren't necessarily rooted in truth, which means when you create the imagery of something exciting, something bold, something unique, clients really resonate with that, especially if it's on brand for you. So to be a sticky brand, right, it's actually simpler than you may think. But it's not necessarily about what you offer from a service perspective or a product perspective. It's about emotion. It's about that evoking of what people feel, what people see, what they perceive. Those are words that seem kind of not resonant with what we usually focus on at these events, but it is incredibly important now more than ever. So I want you to take a moment, maybe throw me a couple ideas in the chat. One of these three things. What kind of sensory experiences do you believe that you're either delivering or willing to deliver? What emotions do you focus on in your marketing, if any? And what tools do you use to do so? I think a lot of the ideas and answers to how you can create an irresistible brand are here. They're in the chat room, they're on screen, but they're also within your colleagues and peers. And I think it'll be really helpful to see. You know, I really think about the evolution of our industry so uniquely since I've been around for a long time. And I've seen some really great experiences and examples of how something so simple like goat yoga can just get a cult following simply because it is incredibly emotive. It is something that people absolutely connect to. And as I see some of you typing into the chat, something that makes you sticky and unique, I see that already, right? You create senses of belonging, right? You create a family environment. I hear that one a lot. You have the same scent in all rooms. That's actually a great big business retail best practice. You know, there's a reason why, if you recall Abercrombie and Fitch or Hollister as brands, there was a smell that was resonant of their business every time you walked by in the mall or walked in. And I think part of what makes a great experience is having it be resonant to your target client, which we're about to talk about. Another great example of how that's done really well is when you pair like seemingly different things together in a way that's creative and helps clients, I think, to have a deeper experience that goes beyond just a class. Great example here with the beer and yoga. I actually have had a client that does that really well for some time. They actually do combine beer and yoga, and it works for them. It makes sense, and it gets people really excited about what they bring to the table, which is not just the beer and not just the yoga. It's that sensory experience that they have together. So keep throwing your ideas in the chat. I love seeing them. So when we think as visionaries for a moment, right? Many of you started your business because you wanted to impact certain levels of your community, whether it's local or national or regional. As marketers, we believe in creating possibilities. We believe in creating a way for your business or brand to connect with more clients very directly, very organically, at scale so that you can grow. And I think a big part of this is amplifying your brand message. And essentially, you know, with over 2-3 billion people on social media at this point, as an example, you can't reach every single client on your Facebook or Instagram. I know that's the goal every time you post, but it's really not. But here's what you can do. You can influence them. You can inspire them. You can inspire them to inspire others. And I think that is where we have control over our future, right? There's a lot of things that we're probably not in control of right now, but boy, this is one that we absolutely can do something about, because people influence one another. We can create such a sticky relationship with our clients that can create, I mean, I've seen everything from movements to whole new business ideas, services that pair with products and products that pair with services. And that's meant to not just encourage you and inspire your next step, but also to help you to realize that every single business has a brand. And I say that because a lot of times, specifically in the fitness and wellness industry, sometimes we feel like brand is just for our big business allies, where it's really easy to have a brand if you're Amazon, right? You have an idea and an emotive idea of how you bring your services to life. You spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on brand every single year. And it doesn't always feel enough to be like, we're the wellness industry and we focus on community. But I will tell you that people are absolutely talking about your business right now. And if you haven't done any listening lately, hey, that's a great time to go out and experience your business as someone who's not the owner or the manager. Now, as you do that, you're going to find that when your business comes to mind, there is a clear brand association that happens. What is it? Write it down, journal about it. Think about how you can improve it. Think about how you can sustain it, but don't ignore it because it's there. Your brand has a personality. Your brand has a vision and an emotive connection to who you are and what the business offers. And I'll say this one more time because I say it a lot. The more unique, the more you differentiate, the more your personality is clear to the client, the harder you are to resist. So no more copycats, no more hype. Let's give people something that makes them literally feel like they love every aspect of what you have to offer, and they can share it, replicate it, and be a part of it, and be a part of something really great. Because the best experience is the client that you're pulling alongside you and not pushing into your business. So let's talk a little bit about what you have to offer. Well, your brand promise can be anything that differentiates you from your competition, but I do think it also needs to be compelling to your offerings, meaning you want it to be resonant with what you can currently do with your resources and services that you have now. I also believe that it's important to think about, okay, what is actually clear about the services you provide? Hang tight just a moment. Talk too much. So what is unique about what your business provides? Well, you may say that you do something from a service perspective, which is really unique. You may say that you focus on high intensity. You may say that our clients torch calories and they love that when they look at their Apple Watch afterwards. Whatever it is, it's super important that you have a brand promise. Why? There's only one reason. And it's to know your customers so well that your brand promise resonates with them, that your personality matches them. You know, I liken a lot of this to dating, and I really think it helps you to realize like there's a good fit for everyone, and there's always someone that's not a great fit. But when you know your customers, you are irresistible. What you offer, it can be so much more plentiful because the client can resonate with what you bring to the table. So when I think about the target client that you're looking to attract, let me give you some ideas of how to create a more focused buyer. Oftentimes in the marketing industry, we say buyer persona. It just means your target client. It means an avatar of who that client is. What do they do? What are their demographics, right? Where do they live? What are their interests? What are their location, meaning do they work nearby? Do they live nearby? What are their behaviors? Are they online junkies? Are they people who will never touch, the internet more than during work? What are their finances? Like, these are things that are incredibly important for you to understand so that you can kind of wrap your mind around your client life cycle. When you do that, you will understand their point of view better. You'll have better triggers and more emotive connection, and your brand promise will resonate with them because of that. So there's a lot here, but I just want you to think for a moment, like, the best way to think through who your target client is to break down some of these different algorithms of what they're made up of, right? Where do they live? What do they do when they're not at your business? That's a big one. Every time I ask a client that, they really stop and think, wow, okay, that tells me a lot about the client. How about how important is wellness to them, right? You may have a target client that really values the services you bring, or that may need a lot more education to value the services that you bring. Here are some great examples of how you can go really deep with a buyer persona. And ride with me here. It seems like a lot, but when we think about what makes a client who they are to us in our business, we need that level of in-depth information. A lot of times we name them, you see Hannah and Diane here. We give them a true, like, visual personification, and it helps us to understand how do we really create something that's even stickier than we've had in the past, right? If you've been in business for over 3 years, many of you, or 1 to 3 years for a good chunk of you, now is really the time to go back to who is the client that I can please the easiest, that I can connect with the most? What do they need? What do they bring to the table? What do their finances look like? What are the questions they ask when they come to our business? Because all of those things give you a really clear idea of how to map their journey, how to understand not just who they are, but where they are. How to have the right emotional trigger at the right phase, right? This is where we talk about, like, what part of the client's journey are they on? Are they on the awareness side? Are they in conversion? Are they in loyalty? Are they looking to be like a long-term raving fan? This is where different emotional triggers at each phase actually helps you to be a lot more successful in converting the client and keeping the client. And more importantly, I think it's important to realize that different clients have different needs. Let me give you an example that resonates with probably your business. A first-time client has a completely different need than a first-time member. That first-time client, they have no connection to your business, right? We're just in the beginning stages of creating a sticky relationship with them. So they may not care if you have a certain phrase you say every day after class. Not yet anyway. And so helping them to go from newbie, right? Helping them to go from a first timer to a regular attender is going to be your goal. And at different phases, they're going to have different needs. So in that beginning phase, motivation may be huge, right? As they come back, reassurance may be important. But as they get stickier, now the client is beyond the motivation, beyond the reassurance, and they may need some more, what I would call hand-holding, whether it's goal setting, whether it's understanding, like, how do they utilize the time that they have at your business. So I think there's some really great ways to think through how you map through your client's journey, and you can keep it extremely simple. Break them down by time life cycle, right? Are they new? Are they a dabbler or an intermittent client? Are they a member? Which, again, that first time member has a totally different set of questions. They have a totally different set of needs. And so as they go through the journey and as you map their journey, you're going to understand the best actions for them. Hey, everyone's looking for that ambassador evangelistic client, but they're made, they're created, they're not born. And so how do we focus on that and still have a running business, right? Because we can't focus on every single client in a very granular way. So how can we stage this out into a journey that makes sense? And this is where I'll spend the rest of my time with you. Well, I want to think through who's most important at what time, right? What aspect of the business do I need to focus on? So if you've been in business for 1 to 3 years or 3+ years, you may find that leads become easier at certain stages of the business. and that getting them from newbie to intermittent is another aspect of the focus after you have a lot of leads. So this is kind of fluid at this point. Depending on how your last year has been, you may find that you need to start all the way back at the beginning and go back to clients who are considering and evaluating your business, which is the very top here. And they need things like a really clear introductory offer. You need to be very persistent in how you message and market to them. So this is where advertising, digital marketing really helps. Maybe outdoor if you're looking to do some really granular, like in-person, focused on the community type marketing. This is where having events and newsletters and things that just help clients to better understand what you're about. That would be those first two stages of the funnel: lead and introductory offer. When we think about the client who's started, they've tried a class, maybe they've come back, maybe they haven't. That's the newbie and intermittent layer of the stage. Those are clients that I would consider at risk because at any time they're not sticky yet. So what are things that we can do marketing wise, sales wise, community wise, that help the client to feel a connection to your brand and your brand personality? Sometimes it's something as simple as having some automated communications that go out for their birthday, their anniversary. Those are simple and easy to set up in the back end of your mind body. And you've likely had them turned off for some time, because when a business gets tenured, we tend to overcomplicate some of these things. Go back to the drawing board, go back to basics and think about how you can motivate your clients with really simple ways to connect with them. I think this is the perfect stage to talk about membership. And when clients are considering membership, we need to realize there's a word I use called apathy. They're fighting the desire to do nothing oftentimes, right? It's not even usually that they're considering you and another studio like you, or you in a big box gym, for instance. They're genuinely fighting the idea of going to the couch every day after work instead of to your business. And so understanding that just helps you to make, I think, a better connection to the client a lot sooner, and will certainly help you to convert more of them into that raving fan that we're desiring. So I want you to think of it almost like a loop, because each client goes through these stages, and sometimes they re-go through these stages. When we start at awareness, we think about early stage marketing, paid search, organics, really focus it on targeted content and campaigns that make sense for a client when they don't know much about you, they're not very connected to you yet. Once they're interested, maybe someone shared a referral to a friend of theirs. Maybe they stumbled across your social media. Maybe they Google searched you. This is that mid stage where we're nurturing a relationship based on interest. But just like in dating, that's only the beginning, right? And so it has to go beyond interest. Some tactics and some ways to do that is to really go deep on understanding your client's psyche, their desires, their imagery that makes them go tick, right? And this is what we consider later stage nurture. This is where you're focused on knowing the client so well that what you offer makes a lot more sense to them. That's the stickiness that we all desire. And finally, when you think about the end of this loop, it's all about helping the client to take action, right? What kinds of sales process do you have in place? What kind of verbiage do you need at the end? There's a phrase I use called a call to action. Like, how can we use that to inspire clients to do the thing that we want them to do? And what tools do you need post-purchase to help you keep this loop going? Because those of you that have been in business for a long time realize that just because a client buys once and they auto renew every month does not mean they're instantly a client for life, without a lot of focus on this loyalty loop, which just kind of comes right back around and focuses on keeping the client as much as it is acquiring the client. And this is where you can focus on having better onboarding processes, so they start the membership in a better place, they start their first visit in a better place. Maybe you focus on creating a welcoming experience that includes everything from newsletters, personal messages, events, reviews, maybe peer-to-peer, like helping clients to find stickiness with one another is something I think we're all very familiar with as a concept for our industry. But I want to give you one more before I go, and that's storytelling. Talking about being an irresistible brand, I can't ignore the power of storytelling for how you can share who you are in a way that I think resonates more than being like spammy or scammy, which is most people's concern. I love this quote because it says, marketing is no longer about stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. There's another great quote that I love that says, people don't really care what you know until they know how you feel. So like creating that emotive experience through stories, through understanding your target client, I'll tell you, it really makes your clients clear that they are the hero in the story, that they are the one you care about. They are the reason you put your name on that lease for 10 years. They are the reason that you show up in PPE every day to teach a class. And so I would assert to you that just like clients are created, heroes are also made, and your client has to feel that every touch of your business, every time they connect with you, every time they sign in, every time they come back, they have to feel that sticky emotive connection to your business. And I really believe that when you do that, you have an irresistible brand that'll be around for years to come. So I want to leave you with a video that the folks at MindBody created that I think just brings us all together, right? Why are you here? What do you offer? How do we make it better? And how do we create that sticky client relationship that helps us to grow in the future? It was really great to be with you all, and I'll be looking forward to your messages in one, or feel free to shoot me a personal message if you want to look over your business a little bit more. I'm going to share and reshare just so you guys can get the sound from that one.
I just feel like it's so important that everyone finds their purpose and what they were supposed to do. And I know helping people heal and feel confident in who they are is what this method has allowed me to be able to give people.
I don't consider what I do work. If you have your own business, I think it's crucial that you believe in what you're doing, that you enjoy what you're doing, and you're passionate for it.
When I was 15, my mother was terminal. Hospice sent a massage therapist out to work with her, and that's when I really understood the power of touch. I had a lot of people push back when I said I was going to become an esthetician, and they said, you're not going to make any money doing that. It's not even about money, it's that I'm part of something bigger.
We have the honor and the responsibility of introducing yoga to people for the very first time. We're building a beautiful, vibrant, dynamic, and diverse community.
I opened this business with just a huge heart for people.
It's not the money that drives me, it's the people who come to me that I build up their self-confidence.